So thanks for touring my spaces with me. I hope you enjoyed these spaces I built for my Airbnb customers. You can find me on Airbnb. This listing is called Peacock Manor. The one inside is called Eco Art Home, and the one I'm sitting in right now is the Earthship Solarium. Appreciate your time and interest in design spaces and what I'm up to. And you're watching The Nowhere Show. Thanks. Crap, it's not The Nowhere Show, is it?
It's fine. It's so close.
No, I'm not doing that. I fucked it
Nowhere
up.
Project.
We'll fix it. My name is Matthew Schniper. Welcome to my Airbnb. This is the Nowhere Project. Let's show you guys around. My guests always come in through here. We start in our common courtyard so folks can sit and enjoy some sun or enjoy the recreational marijuana products of the fine state of Colorado. This is a bike shed we built with some reclaimed lumber, which sort of starts this part of the story of this space, which is a lot of reclaimed materials. And this is our Peacock Manor is the name of this one. So, Peacock Manor is a conversion of my garage. This took about a year to construct overall, which meant basically taking the old garage down to the studs and just turning it into a box. For me, what I like to do is always look towards reclaimed materials at every step of the way. So even in the framing and the filling in of this, there's a lot of these are reclaimed 2x4s and things like that. My goal though, after that process, is to really start on the design side of it, and where other people might just paint a wall and put in some typical things, I really want to push it beyond that and do some really cool stuff that would appeal to my guests and make it just a one-of-a-kind, unique space. So for here, for example, one of the most interesting things, if we want to start at, is the wallpaper itself. So this is where I got the name Peacock Manor. Basically, we have peacocks. They're gaudy. They're kind of like super, super colorful. I think it's something that if it was in my house, in my bedroom, after a week or two, I might be like, okay, that's enough. Like, I can't do the peacocks anymore. But as a guest who stays here for a few days, I think it's just right. I guess I have my own concept that like a little bit of gaudy is good, and that gets people's attention. And when they're flipping through hundreds of listings, they're going to stop on this and be like, oh, what's that? What am I looking at exactly? And what's kind of cool about this too is inside of a peacock, you get all these colors you can work off of. So when it came to the rest of the design scheme, it was like, okay, cool. I've got blues, I've got greens, I've got little pops of other color. And so one of the first influences that comes off the wallpaper itself is the floor I'm standing on, and that's called metallic epoxy. It's a process that it's kind of what you see on auto body paint or bowling balls. It's super glossy and shiny and beautiful. You'll see over here, for example, we took some red and started in this bathroom area and came out and poured that into the kitchen and created this cool little stain there. To me, this is like why this is such a unique space that someone might want to stay, because even between the wallpaper and this floor, right off the bat, you're like, okay, this is crazy. I never see stuff like this. And my guests tend to leave me these reviews where they talk about it, like, oh my gosh, you got to see the floors or this crazy wallpaper. And so people really, they tune in and they get it. Like they see what I was going for. It's only about 240 square feet. It's not huge. So I wanted to make sure it was very functional and utilitarian for the needs of a guest. So this area is basically like, hey, post up, watch Netflix, relax. The space was so small, I didn't think I was going to be able to fit like a couch or another area in. So the concept of this is really the platform, kind of 2-in-1, reclaimed materials from the Restore over here, like the headboards, and we used kitchen cabinets for the base. So putting headboards on each side kind of is suggestive of, hey, sleep this way and watch TV this way as well. Some local, at one point this was local artwork. If any of you were living in the Springs about a decade ago, you might remember when Jermaine Rogers had a gallery in Manitou Springs, and so this is a Jermaine picture, which I kind of just tossed into because of the symbolism of what I think is a peacock here. I know it's sort of a bird that it's not entirely defined, and then with this purple chair, I just think it's like a really styling corner where people might want to take Instagram pictures. I actually encourage them in my listing to like take pictures with the peacocks and tag me or tag the space, and try to make more of like a story about this, so other guests in the future can come and see who stayed here before them. I do. It's Peacock Manor CSCO for Colorado Springs, Colorado. This is kind of amusing, but this is Pike's Peacock. I hope you get the joke there. Some people seem to like that. And then that one is, I've got to remember her name. This one is, I'll have to come back to that. I completely blanked on her name. And now my friend's gonna be really pissed at me. So we'll come back to that one. But anyway, this is all reclaimed stone. A friend had bought a house to flip, and this was all in their kitchen. They didn't want it. There's a beautiful quartz vein that runs through this, and I put some LED lights under the bottom, so at nighttime this quartz will actually light up, which is another kind of fun touch in here. And if you haven't seen it already, there's some LED lights on the floor as well, which make all of this glow. So again, you get these cool colors by nighttime. And over here we have another piece of reclaimed stone. This was a cool way to reclaim some more materials, give this stone a second life, and cut this in and give these my guests a little mini kitchenette area. Lastly, in here we have our storage area. So this is a luggage rack area we built. Again, some reclaimed wood. My artist friend, she painted a little cute stenciled mural for me. But the guests can come in, hang their stuff up, put all their baggage in here. And then the second function of this rolling door, once that's done, is to be your privacy for the bathroom. And the bathroom's pretty tight. I'll see if we can all squeeze in here. This is, of course, our thematic peacock shower curtain. This is part of the design for me too. Is the I love looking through the tile and stuff. This is some tile I ordered online. That's just really pretty. There's actually what I call the eco bucket in here. So I try to always have like an ecology factor in my listings, and so it takes a few minutes for the hot water to get out here. So that's why I put the little bucket in there and invite the guests to run that, bleed the cold water through before the hot water arrives. Put it in that bucket, take it outside, pour it on your favorite tree. And so we're always trying to be water wise and water conscious here. So that's this area. And what else do we have? But yeah, on the whole, what we're standing on too, I forgot to mention this with the floors. It's warm floors, it's radiant heating. That's how this gets its heat in the wintertime. When you're in here and it's cold and you're barefoot, it feels awesome. The whole place is really warm. So it was another kind of efficient way that, again, I didn't have to put a separate heating unit out here or anything like that. But the space performs beautifully, like the warm floors, good insulation. Wintertime so far, it's been awesome. Like it's not using too much utilities. And so I try to message that to my guests as well. I want to talk to them about environmental stuff basically and let them know, like, in the design in this was made in a very conscious way. Like, I want to talk about these things with you. I want you to know, like, I'm water wise. We're using reclaimed materials. The space uses very little heat. So some folks dig that. They're into it. They want to know that I care about that, or we want to have that conversation. And other folks are just here to have a good time for the weekend. If they don't tune in, totally fine. My main goal is just to be a good host, make sure they have a good time while they're staying here and that they're comfortable. So I can take you in and show you my other two listings inside the main house. For the record, I can do 2 listings at a time. I'm zoned R2, so it's really important. Licensed through the city. I have an Airbnb license, so this one's always renting, and my back bedroom's always renting. If I take my other one online, then I need to block one of the other 2, so that's just sort of a little technicality so that I'm in compliance with my license. This is my kitchen, my house that I'll share with the guest. So if you're out here in Peacock Manor, you have the whole place to yourself. It's private. You don't even have to talk to me if you don't want to. You've got your own entryway. But in here, you pretty much are sharing the kitchen with me, sharing some common space. And so guests who want to choose this might be the kind of folks who want to stay at a hostel when they're traveling internationally, that enjoy meeting other people, enjoy, as they're traveling or as they're here for work or something else, getting to, have their own kitchen, more of a space than they're going to get in a hotel. And so this is the common living room where they can watch TV in here. This room, by contrast to Peacock Manor, which was a little bit more simple on the art, this is my space, my house, and I really enjoy collecting art when I travel and from local artists as well. So I've filled my walls with art by contrast. So in here, there's everything from some works by Simon Padilla, which I really like from one of his shows. Over here on this wall, I've got photography that I took on one of my trips to India, and I actually did a show at SBQR, I think in 2014 was that show. And so hung up some of my own things to share with the guests. And then this wall would represent more like travels. These are prints I got from Czech Republic and Prague. All these Mucha prints, take us back into the rental bedroom. Let's see. So this, I guess I'll start you in the bathroom here and work you back out. This should look familiar to Peacock Manor. We have the same tile for efficiency, which I really enjoy. This is a private bathroom in this room for these folks, which I just added earlier this year. I think most people when they're traveling want to have that kind of privacy. This wall is indicative of again, like good wallpaper is everything. So this room sort of started with this crazy wallpaper. I think this is gorgeous. It's like, again, almost tacky, almost too much, a little bit gaudy, but in a picture it helps, you know, my guests will often tell me, I booked this because I saw that wallpaper. Like that alone gets me bookings, which is cool. So for me, I think having good design and good style is something that's going to get their attention and have them want to stay in this space where they see it's well thought out, it's well curated. There's a little more to it. It's not just a room. You can sleep anywhere. You can, anyone can set up a comfortable bed, but to me, that difference is like, how do you feel in the space? You know, what's that aesthetic that you take away? That, you know, whether it's warm or cool colors that make you feel a certain way. But in here, I just wanted it to be, you know, styling, like look good. So from this back bedroom, I will show you one other space. This one, I think this one's listed as the Eco Art Home if anyone's on Airbnb looking for it at some point. And then over here, this takes you into my common kitchen area. So this is where I do all my cooking. My guests are welcome to come in here and cook with me as well. And that's really fun. There's actually one more technicality. I'm not allowed to provide breakfast because I am not a bed and breakfast. So I do not cook anything for them, but if we're both in here cooking at the same time, then sometimes you can have that kind of shared meal thing. I want to show you now my greenhouse space. I call it the greenhouse solarium, basically. Yeah, from my kitchen we go out into the greenhouse solarium. This normally is where I will sleep, and sometimes I'll put it online for listing on Airbnb if I want to block one of the other ones. I'm going to start over here and show you this space. It's a long, wide space. It matches the footprint of my house. So I cut out of the existing wall and created 2 doors out into this space. It's basically like 30 feet long, which matches the imprint of the house, by 15 feet wide. And what I kind of envisioned with this space when I worked with my engineer in the beginning to do the plans was growing space for gardening, but also a place for just more living space, a lot of light. And there's a whole other function to this space really, which is again that environmental ecological impact or footprint where this room it's south facing, it gets a ton of sun during the day. And I can capture that heat like right now when it's 30 degrees outside in winter. All that heat comes in here just like it would in another greenhouse we were growing. And I can capture that and move it into my main house just by having these windows and doors open. So it's basically like free heat. I very rarely need to run my furnace on the main house because I capture so much heat by day, move it inside into a well-insulated area. So to me, this room is almost like, on the performance level, it's like a big solar battery. You charge this up and you get heat. This wall is really cool. My friends and I did all the mud. And so yeah, I should pull back. This is basically inspired by the Earthships in Taos, New Mexico. So what I did is I took the design aesthetic of that, reclaimed materials. They use a lot of bottles and cans and things in the building. And so I mounted bottles in my wall. Some of you might have seen that company locally that's called Wine Punts. They make wine glasses for places like the Broadmoor. So my buddy owns that, and I had him actually cut me a bunch of glasses just like they would for that, but leave them unfinished for me. And then you actually glue 2 wine punt the bottoms together, wrap some tape, and you have what's called a bottle brick. So in total, this room has about 200 bottle bricks, which is kind of fun. We did all those ourselves. The mud is basically sand, straw, and clay. It's basically what you'd call adobe as well. You can mold it however you want. So we created these little bins around the bottles, or this was an archway, a cat and dog door, so my pets could come in and out. This tree came from actually Flying W's land after the Waldo fire. A friend of mine was doing some fire mitigation up there and got us access and permission. So we were able to cut these. This is just an aesthetic piece. I just wanted a tree in the wall. It actually comes out into the room about 6 feet, so you can hang a plant on it or something. But there's no other function of this other than kind of like a piece of art, just a tree in a wall. And actually, the same, these pieces too also came from the land. So I kind of tried to tell a bit of a story with these. So this piece in the middle, I left a lot more of the char on there to tell the story of that fire. The one over here, I stripped more about halfway. And there's one more post over here that I stripped almost all the way. But instead of just doing you know, posts from Home Depot or Lowe's, I wanted to actually, you know, capture sort of some local history in terms of using Waldo Canyon firewood from 2012. And so that provided the supports for the whole building. Same with that in my living room or other parts of the house. I really just want to, you know, showcase local art, and anyone who's ever staying out here or even just spending time out here, I want them to be able to see, you know, cool art from people in Colorado. And a friend of mine helped build this custom platform bed for me as well. A lot of reclaimed materials in that. This floor, kind of like Peacock Manor, has buried PEX tubing in here. So this is also radiant solar. So I can warm this up. I'm sorry, not solar. I can warm this up as well. It's fed by a boiler system. And these are nice warm floors for winter. This is all stone from the Restore. So basically, my friend and I went and picked up a bunch of scrap for a few $100, which was probably actually worth more like $4 or $5 grand. And we mosaicked this over one winter, and we basically cut each one of these because a lot of these had flaws in them, like a little dent or ding corner. But we got a diamond bit saw and cut all these up and mosaicked it. So that's the floor. Up on the ceiling, we've got actually what's called pergo, which is usually flooring. So my ceiling's made of flooring, which is kind of random. And what you're seeing up there too is my skylights, and that's a huge part of the performance of this as well. In the winter time, they're closed, but in the summertime, you have to open those up and vent all the heat out. So you leave some windows open and the hot air comes in and goes out, so there's some natural convection. We've got a far infrared sauna for my guests so they can enjoy a sweat while they're here. I try to always have amenities for them, something that makes it a little bit more special again, so having the sauna is a nice touch, I hope. Down here is actually a growing area. This is part of the original design to make this more of a greenhouse where I can actually grow food. Right now it's wintertime, we're not getting a lot of sun, so it was a bad time to start seedlings and expect to get too much light. So a lot of the plants will just kind of limp along during winter. But in the summertime, you'd see I'd have like beets and other things planted here and a lot of fresh greens. But a lot of my guests just love coming in here and checking out the different kind of plants. You know, we'll talk about that, and I'll usually send people home with clippings if I can, so they can grow some of these at home too. This is a table my friend and I built out of some more, this is actually not reclaimed, we bought some fresh wood for that, but just an area where folks can come, have dinner, breakfast, do some work, sit down at the table, whatever. All right, so thanks for taking a tour with me. I appreciate your time. I'll see you guys later. Peacock, as in General Palmer. So if you want, I don't know if it matters or not.
I'll just put it in text over there.
Yeah, it's Palmer Peacock anyway.